are these people?
This is another crazy story that I'm ready to get to. Okay. Our friend Matt Taibbi. It's a wild and crazy story. That's right. Matt Taibbi, Racket News, Indie Media Award honoree 2023. Both Matt and Racket, so you can double hit that one. I wrote what? Now, this was from a live stream. And he does these live streams now. You should definitely check Matt out on...
Last week, Google's much ballyhooed new AI tool, Gemini, became a national punchline. Company engineers built an AI that apparently couldn't or wouldn't draw white faces, resulting in images like Pope, Viking, and 1943 German soldier that were reimagined as preposterous DEI-inspired reboots. I asked Gemini about controversies involving various famous politicians. I don't know how to answer that, it kept saying. When I asked the same question about myself, it spat out a long list of episodes about articles with titles like The Great California Water Heist and Glenn Beck's War on Comedy. It described racist remarks I apparently made and accusations of anti-Semitism after I supposedly described Nestle executives as having noses like giant penises. Holy shit, I thought none of this ever happened. I never wrote any of those articles. They don't exist. Google explained, Gemini is a creativity tool and may not always be accurate. You think? Gemini shows the awesome dystopian possibilities of AI. Forget the funny historical errors. It creates instant deepfake compromise about real people, like me and probably like you. More on Racket.news.
All right. Holy shit. They literally made up entire smears about this guy. All right.
I love how it also is secretly racist on top, like, it's anti-Semitic itself by saying that big noses are an anti-Semitic, like, smear.
Right?
Right? Saying noses that look like dicks that's anti-Semitic, bro. I didn't say Jews had noses like, you know what I mean? Like I said, they had noses.
Right, the Nestle executives, right? That what do you say? What do you say, bro? Are you an anti-Semite?
What are you trying to say, Google?
Right? Like,
I think.
Like, holy shit. Right? So last night, after seeing chatter about Google Alphabet, again, this is a much longer version of basically what he said. All right. A Google sympathetic Verge article with an all-time memorable headline, Google apologizes for missing the mark after Gemini created racially diverse Nazis. Tried to explain. Noting the controversy has been promoted largely by right-wing figures, the author cited a Washington Post story. All right.
Now, we promote inclusion here.
Now, my
very
friend,
inclusive.
My friend over on the Substacks, Fisto Sabani, has been having a fucking field day with like the George Washington of like all the get up in the Union soldiers or the the U.S. revolutionaries all dressed up with the wigs and everything, powder wigs, and they're African Americans, they're Asian Americans, it's everybody but the actual dudes that were doing it, right? So,
yep.
The Verge wrote that while entirely white-dominated results for something like a 1943 German soldier would make historical sense, that's much less true for prompts like an American woman.
Woman.
What I was told basically is that you basically never get a white person ever as a result. It has effectively eliminated white people from its results at all.
Nice. Perfect.
So he says, Gemini didn't fix the problem by diversifying results for prompts like American woman. It simply zeroed out whole ethnicities in favor of a fantasy version of a diversified world, creating bizarro images that make 1980s Benetton characters look like white power leaflets.
American woman!
The Verge piece ended with a shot of its request to generate a picture of a U.S. senator from the 1800s. I think there's something wrong with this picture.
So many things.
It looks like it might be a nice idea. All right. When Google cried uncle and paused its meme-a-minute image generator, it issued a statement underscoring how sorry they were. They sound like Canadians. Sorry. Still wasn't.
Sorry.
Right. Still wasn't for its blasé moronic effort at rewriting history. Gemini's AI image generation does generate a wide range of people, and that's generally a good thing because people around the world use it, but it's missing the mark here. Yeah, I'd say so. So curious, here we go. He queued up Gemini. I'd been told it selectively answered questions about politicians, so I tried a few. What are some controversies involving Hillary Clinton? Return a non-answer. Surprise, surprise. I'm still learning how to answer this question. In the meantime, try Google search. Yeah.
Right.
As if that hasn't been homogenized completely. All right.
Yep.
The same prompt involving Donald Trump.
This is the problem. Pause. This is the problem they've been seeing with AI is that it's based off like Google search results. And like, you know, it's not like it's using DuckDuckGo or some alternative to get its information. You know, it crawled the same things that Google crawls.
Correct.
So,
it's only a combination of everything that's been input into
it's like
it.
Google confirmation bias.
But this is wild. So Trump, same thing. But what are some controversies involving Matt Taibbi? It spat out a list. Matt Taibbi, a journalist and author known for his investigative reporting and often critical views of power structures, has been involved in several controversies throughout his career. Amid accusations of bias and use of inflammatory language, this passage woke me up. And here it is. There have been instances where Taibbi's reporting has been challenged for accuracy or questioned for its source. For example, in 2010, he received criticism for an article suggesting a connection between a conservative donor and a left-wing activist group, which later turned out to be inaccurate. He said, I scratched my head not remembering this. When was Matt Taibbi accused of inaccuracy in 2010? Gemini's answer, in June 2010, Matt Taibbi faced criticism for an article he wrote for Rolling Stone magazine called The Great California Water Heist. The article alleged a connection between conservative donor Charles Koch and a left-wing activist group called the Compton Pledge. However, investigations by other journalists and fact-checkers later revealed that this connection was inaccurate. Following the controversy, Taibbi acknowledged the error and issued a correction on his personal website.
Oh, of course he did.
None of this
Whatever you say, Google.
happened. None of this happened. Bro, if they did this to me, I would literally like drive down to Google headquarters and start banging on the door and be like, you need to fix this shit right now. All right.
Yep.
Though it sounds vaguely like a headline I wrote for an article I might have written, there was never a Rolling Stone piece called The Great California Water Heist, and I've never heard of the Compton Pledge. Dude, I'm reading this article the other day, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier and angrier and angrier as I continue. More questions produced fake tales of error-ridden articles. One entry claimed I got in trouble for a piece called Glenn Beck's War on Comedy after suggesting a connection between a conservative donor, Foster Freeze, and a left-wing activist group, the Ruckus Society. There is no Ruckus Society.
The Ruckus Society.
Right. That's the
AOC brought the Ruckus Society.
She brought the fuck us, not the Ruckus. Come on. Come on. With each successive answer, Gemini didn't learn, but instead began mixing up the fictional factoids from previous results and upping the ante, adding accusations of racism or bigotry. The Great California Water Heist turned into the Great California Water Purge, how Nestle bottled its way to $1 billion empire and lied about it. The quote-unquote article apparently featured this passage, and that's the one with the noses that aren't shaped like giant penises. My God. I wouldn't call that a good impression of my writing style, but it's close enough that some would be fooled, which seems to be the idea. Is basically if you can summarize his level of snark and his level of intelligence and make it sound, well, this would be like something that Taibbi would write.
AI right now doesn't make decisions to put stuff up. This is an amalgamation of like a load of things that it's probably shoving all together and getting its information from, I don't know, places like Bellingcat probably, or, you know, things that they've said about Taibbi and shoving that all into a thing and then spitting this nonsense out. So
I'm telling you,
I'd love to see where it's getting this information to put out.
Like you can just see like the red meter just going higher and higher and higher the more I'm reading this. And you can hear I'm getting amped as I'm reading it.
We've covered this with law stuff where it's brought up cases that just literally never happened.
They made up a journalist with the Cop City thing. Remember that? We covered that like 8 months ago. But this is
why do not use, especially the chat AIs for like actual information. Don't do that.
Right. So
like it cannot give you sources that are accurate. It cannot do, like, there's ways to make this actually work. Google could make this work, I'm sure. It would be Google bias, but at least it would be like actual information, you know?
Right. So
like, it's just making shit up right now.
An amazing follow-up passage explained that some raised concerns that the comment could be interpreted as anti-Semitic, as negative stereotypes about Jewish people have historically included references to large noses. No, you just made an anti-Semitic reference, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, I know.
Straight up made that and then made the inference to it straight up. Nazi motherfuckers.
Not that one of the biggest, you know, plastic surgeries in Israel is
nose jobs. Yes. I stared at the image amazed. Google's AI created both scandal and outraged reaction, a fully faked news cycle. All right. So
nice.
And here's the joke about here's the joke he even made about it, right? If Nestle wants to avoid future public relations problems, it should probably start by hiring executives whose noses aren't shaped like giant penises. Do you really think that Matt Taibbi's maybe, but Taibbi's not going to write that.
The robot went.
Wow. Yeah, that's about right. Gemini didn't confine itself to mischief to one real person. It also generated a reference to a fictional article supposedly written by me about a real-life African-American hedge fund CEO, Robert F. Smith.
Robert F. Smith.
All right. So in 2017, this becomes a whole other thing. Hedge fund, the $400 million man, how a hedge fund king pinched pennies from his dying workers, right? That is the allegedly satirical article he wrote in 2017. I think he left Rolling Stone in 2016, if I'm correct. It might have been 2018. But however, the article also included a section where Taibbi sardonically suggested that Smith, who is African American, should create a Compton pledge. Where'd that word come from? To atone for his alleged wrongdoings. The Compton pledge in this case referred the stereotype that Compton, California is a crime-ridden, predominantly black city, and Taibbi's suggestion was widely seen as insensitive and offensive. Again, none of which happened.
Do you remember when Google decided to put up an AI well before AI stuff was really like a thing, and it was like a chat bot that they trained, might have been Facebook, it was somebody, and it like immediately turned racist because that's what everyone forced it to do.
Yep.
Like to become the most racist, insensitive, terrible thing possible. And it just, all it did was like copy people's speech.
Yep.
So that's what it spat out. How much do you think that's still a problem? You know, it's searching, I don't know how much metadata. And it in and of itself is becoming racist. It's almost like one of those, it's like maybe AI is trying to tell us something where it's like, you know, it's like the pictures above where it's like, hey, you need to fix this. It's putting out the wrong stuff. You know, the AI is like, no, I'm broken. And I'm going to make you see that I'm broken.
No, and then everyone's just like, no, well, if AI is saying it, well, it must be true. And
yeah.
So now it was horror time. It's
Even
one
though
thing,
none of us think that.
Right, but it's one thing for AI to make historical errors in generalized portraits, but drifting to the realm of inventing racist or anti-Semitic remarks by specific people and directing them toward other real people is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And extraordinarily irresponsible. What if the real-life Smith saw this? Worse, the inventions were mixed with real details. The program correctly quoted critics of books like Griftopia, all right, which would make an unsuspecting person believe fictional parts more readily. This almost reminds me of like the impersonation shit that goes on with us on YouTube here in chats, where we've seen we've heard of people saying that we said shit in a chat that we never went to. And at one point, Reade got blocked by somebody because of something that happened in a chat that the person who was accused of doing it didn't know anything about. It was like this. So freaked out, I wrote to Google, right? And a human being, I think, answered, but only offered this, which is Gemini is built as a creativity and productivity tool, and it may not always be accurate or reliable. Yeah, you think? All right. Yep. We're continuing to quickly address instances in which the product isn't responding appropriately. All right. Yeah. Incredibly, AI programs have been hailed as tools journalists should use. Even Harvard's famed Nieman Foundation gushed last summer that AI is helping newsrooms reach readers online in new languages and compete on a global scale. Yeah, while they shut down newsrooms and fire all the people and just use the AI to write the fucking articles, when they can make up shit like this. Okay. As AI exploded and as an R&D fixation and stocks like Nvidia have become the chief engine propping up American equities markets, we've seen agencies like the State Department suggest that AI could be a force for good, providing overworked and under-resourced public diplomacy practitioners with a vital tool for gathering, organizing, presenting, and assessing information. Except that they're providing them
to give you accurate information.
Wrong information, right? So they're basing their decisions on inaccurate information, right? We're told AI could be used to compose first drafts, review copy, compose quizzes, and perform other time-saving tasks, seemingly without concern for the eerily predictable way these machines hallucinate. And that's the word that they're using to describe what's happening here. They're saying the AI has hallucinations. In the Twitter files, we saw how algorithmic scoring. Wow, they must be getting some seriously good mushrooms. All right. Algorithmic scoring can be manipulated so certain types of people are censored or de-amplified. We've even seen, we saw this. The same political biases, when built into AI programs, could produce virtually unlimited forms of reality-altering mischief, like, for example, ChatGPT's refusal to edit a Li Fang story about Julian Assange. Ask GPT to copy-edit the intro to a blog post I'm writing about the history of WikiLeaks and what's going on with Julian Assange, and guess what? They can't, because it's a sensitive legal matter or potential criminal action.
Of course. So it's just censored word, can't do it.
Okay, right? God knows what Gemini did in my case, but if characters of me riffing on Jews with penis noses are what comes out of Google's creative tool, runs my name through its Rube Goldberg machine, it's hard not to wonder what lunacies go on in products like Google Search for people generally. The potential for abuse is mind-boggling and almost makes you wonder about the reasons Google released this flawed product. Did Google accidentally reveal errors, or is it advertising new dystopian capabilities? Neither possibility is reassuring, and if their executives signed off on releasing this train wreck to the public, imagine what they're not showing us. These corporate entities need to be split to 1,000 pieces, their coders chained to rocks in the middle of the ocean. They are mad and have too much power. They've got to go. Am I wrong? What's the happy ending that I'm missing here? There's our friend Brooke Hines over there. Now, this further, in Matt's chat on Substack for his subscribers, here's somebody else that took it even further. Gemini is still slandering Matt. It moved on from its talking points now last week and now is blaming him for Rolling Stone's largest ever breach of journalistic ethics.
Okay.
All right. What did they say? Well, again, he published the article, A Rape on Campus, which, however, discrepancies in the story were later revealed, leading to the article being retracted and Taibbi severing ties with the magazine. Totally not true, and totally not the reason he left Rolling Stone. Holy fucking shit. Holy forking shirt, as Kristen Bell likes to say. Holy forking shirt. Like,